Okay, guys, so today we're going to start our construction deconstruction drawing. So I've got my newsprint out. I've got some compressed charcoal. I've got some regular charcoal. I've even got an oil pastel. Any one of these things will work, but we're going to start with a portrait. Now, you could pick a different subject matter if you like, but if you're doing a portrait, I like to start with just sort of a general circular shape. And notice that I used like several lines there to get it going, and some of that will help in terms of like creating a little bit of shading there. And I want to kind of figure out where about halfway is. So if I measure, even though the angle on the camera is a little bit off, I can kind of see that from about here to about here, that's going to be about halfway. And that's my eye level line. Then I kind of give myself a central dividing line. I know that anywhere on the left hand side, same thing will sort of happen on the right hand side. I'm going to divide that in half as well. That's going to tell me about where my nose would end. And then I can divide that about as well. And that might be the lips. But actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look really closely at something like a mirror or a picture to figure out where that's going to be. Um, but even just with these simple little marks, you can kind of see the face, right? Like this almost looks like a little bit of a shadow for like a nose. This looks like a little bit of a mouth, like he's got like um, a sort of nothing expression going on there. But let's go ahead and start in with the eyes. I'm going to draw sort of like a light touch, sort of these kind of frowny marks on either side. What I want to do is I want to measure, and this size should be about the same as the size in between. It should be about the same as this size, which should be about the same as the size to the edge of the head. So the head would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eyes wide. Now, I don't have to do a whole ton here to start to get this to look like an eye. I can really sort of darken that top mark, and then I can come in and get kind of a circular sort of motion going there, and all of a sudden these things start to look like eyes themselves. There's typically a little bit of shading above each eye because we're typically lit from above, and our our face, has that brow in there. So you can even put a little bit of shading in between, and then I can put in something that looks kind of like eyebrows on either side, sort of starting from this inside mark on either one and working its way out. And if you look in the mirror, you will see uh, some details that you can include to make your eyes feel more like eyes. I can use like a light line to start to consider the bottom of those eyes, and then maybe just like a little shading kind of going out either way on the inside, and that's going to start to create this idea that there's a nose there. Um, from the inside of the eye, inside corner of the eye, straight down, if I put in like a little parentheses type mark on either side, and then kind of connect that with another little mark here, I can start to get, with a little bit of shading on either side of this central point, the sense of a nose. But again, with my charcoal, I know that this underside of the nose is going to be in shadow because if the light's coming down from above, and then I can do a little bit of this and this on either side to start to get a sense of that darkness there. And it looks pretty harsh right now, right? Like I might come in and do a few more marks to kind of like accentuate this idea that this thing is popping out at me. Uh, but and when I finish the rest of the drawing, you won't notice that as much. Now, the next shape that I always look for if I'm looking at myself is like, what happens in this section between the bottom of my nose and my upper lip? And when I get that shape right, that little divot that's in there, then I can just draw lines kind of straight down, not straight down, but sort of slanting down on either side for that upper lip. And they'll typically go from the middle of the eye out on either side. Then I can look at that center line and try to see if it's a dipsy-do or if it's sort of straight. A little bit of shading on that upper lip, and boom, I've got the upper lip developing there. Notice that my halfway point is the bottom of my lower lip, and that's not unusual, right, on people. And then you might see a little extra shadow in the corner of the mouth. You might see some smile lines kind of developing on either side, so you can start to put those sorts of things in. But you'll typically see a little bit of a shadow underneath, so I'm going to kind of put that in as well. And then this would be the point where I would start to come in and look for the shape of that outside edge of the face and start to define that a little bit more. My ears, I'm going to start at the top of the eye on either side. I'm going to bring this in just a smidge. And they're just like, in this case, a backwards C shape. And they go down to the base of the nose. And I can do that on this side as well, down to the base of the nose. And if I draw that C shape on this side and the backwards C shape on this side, and I go inside that line a little bit and draw another one, and then a little gobbledygook in there, boom, I've got something that kind of looks like a ear. Now, I'll see some shadows here and there, depending on where the light is on either side. So I don't want to be afraid of putting those sorts of things in there. And then I want to start looking at the shape of the hair. I'm going to see some hair coming down for like, what do you call that? Hair in front of your ears, sideburns, right? And then I want to look at the shape of the hair. And in doing so, I'm going to look for the shape of the forehead. And when I see the shape of the forehead, I'm going to draw that. And then the hair is going to extend out beyond that initial line that I drew there. And then I'm going to draw the hair looking for lights and darks. It's probably going to be dark pretty close to the face. There'll probably be some shadow there as well. There'll be some darkness on any sort of parts, followed by light, and then followed by shadow. So I'm going to put those marks in. I'm kind of thinking of these marks going the way that I think the hair would be combed. So it's being combed this way, so I'm using marks that go like this. But then I'm looking for lights and darks, like, oh, there's a little bit of dark in here, but it's a little lighter here, so less marks. If I fill it in completely everywhere, it's going to look kind of weird, right? Going to look for some shadows again on any sort of spots around the face. Not going to be afraid of putting in those shadows, because as I put them in, everything starts to feel more developed. And like, I'm not afraid of my own drawing, right? And then I'm going to extend down some lines from the base of the ears, because you can kind of feel that on yourself. You can do like a little smile line there for the shirt, or you can look at it and say, oh, it looks like there's a collar there that tucks around. You can look closely and see where your shoulders kind of line up with yourself. You can look for that shadow beneath to start to build up a sense of light in there. Some more detail in here. Shoulders are going to extend down and off the page. And I've got a pretty sort of basic portrait that could use a little bit more work. But I'm not going to worry about that too much, because the next step for this project, we're going to take this piece of paper, and what I want you to do is I want you to rip it up. So you made your drawing, but your drawing is not precious, right? We can do another drawing. We're going to take that and we're going to put that together onto a piece of cardboard. And we're going to put some of the pieces back that we like. You know what? I'm going to take that piece out. I'm going to keep that piece. I'm going to put them in sort of the same spots that they should be when I do this. Okay. And then the next step is to come back and paint. Okay. So I'm going to glue some of this stuff down, and then I'm going to paint. And hopefully, in the end, I'm going to get to a point where I've got something that just doesn't look like a simple drawing, but something that I've taken some risks with. So there's a step-by-step process. We'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow, that you can follow along, but you can also just sort of have some fun working on it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine some painting, some drawing. I'm going to make some marks, and then I'm going to change them. Then I'm going to glue some things down. I'm going to pull some things up. I'm going to have some fun with it. Like, what if I came in and added this in there? Actually, I don't like that. I think I like this better. But anyway, that's what we're going to be working on. And of course, this is a nose with a body. But do you know what they call a nose with no body? Nobody knows.